I'm 82 years old now, and the thing I never expected about getting old was how loud the silence could feel. People talk about aches and doctor visits, about slowing down, about retirement, but no one really talks about what happens when the house gets quiet in a way that doesn't go away. I live alone in the same place my wife and I bought back in 1976. Back then it felt small. 2 kids, a dog, laundry always running, something burning on the stove at least once a week. Now it feels wide, like the walls moved farther apart without telling me. Most mornings I wake up before the sun, not because I have somewhere to be, just because that's when my body decides the day has started. I make coffee, 1 cup. For 43 years I made 2 without thinking. It's funny how your hands remember habits long after your life changes. For a while after my wife passed, I still poured that 2nd cup. Then I'd stand there, not sure what to do with it. You don't notice the shift right away. Loneliness isn't a sudden thing. It creeps in quietly, like dusk. You don't see the moment it arrives. Only that the light is gone. When you're younger, your days are shaped by other people. You wake up because someone needs a ride. You cook because someone's hungry. You hurry home because someone's waiting. I used to think those years were exhausting, and they were, but they were also full in a way I didn't appreciate at the time. I worked as a bus driver for most of my life, same route for almost 20 years. Every morning, kids would climb on half asleep, backpacks too big for their shoulders. They'd grow up right in front of me, voices changing, conversations getting quieter. Then one day they'd stop riding altogether. I never thought much about it then, just part of the job. But now I realize those mornings mattered more than I knew. Being part of someone's routine, even in a small way, gives a day weight. After my wife died, the first thing I noticed wasn't grief the way people describe it. It was the absence of ordinary sounds. No footsteps down the hallway. No television murmuring in the background. No voice calling from another room asking where I left something. Just the refrigerator humming and the clock ticking like it had something important to say. Evenings are the hardest. That used to be the time when the house felt most alive. Dinner, conversation, the small complaints of a normal day. Now evenings feel longer than the rest of the day put together. I still cook sometimes, real meals, not because I'm hungry, but because I remember what it felt like when someone sat across from me at the table. It's strange how a place set for 1 can feel heavier than a place set for 4. My kids call when they can. They're good people, busy lives. I don't blame them for that. I remember what it was like to be in the middle of building a life. You're always running toward the next thing. But there's a difference between being loved and being present in someone's daily world. When you get older, you start to feel that difference more clearly. Some days I don't speak out loud until the evening news comes on. Not because I don't have thoughts, just no one to hand them to. And here's something I didn't expect. You start noticing the small proofs that you still exist. The mail addressed to you, the neighbor's wave, the cashier saying your name because it's on the card. Little confirmations that you're still part of the world outside your front door. People assume loneliness always feels like sadness. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a quiet awareness that your life isn't witnessed the way it used to be. I don't say this with bitterness. Life isn't doing anything wrong. It's just moving forward the way it always has. But I think about how many of us reach this stage and realize we spent years preparing for retirement and almost no time preparing for the quiet. There's a moment that comes, usually in the late afternoon, when the light starts changing and the house settles into itself. That's when the memories come easiest. Not the big ones, not weddings or vacations, just ordinary things. The sound of someone laughing in the next room, the way the house used to smell on a Sunday morning, the feeling of knowing someone would be home soon. Those are the moments you miss, the ones you didn't know you should hold on to. And if I'm being honest, the hardest part isn't being alone. It's realizing how much of life you only understand after the noise fades. Because once the silence settles in, you start to see things differently. And that's where the real truth about growing old alone begins.
I remember one morning, sitting by the window, sunlight spilling across the faded carpet. My coffee cup warmed my hands, but not my heart. The house was quiet, quieter than I had ever known it. The ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator, and my own shallow breaths were the soundtrack of the day. I realized that the silence was heavier than any noise I had lived with before. When Carol was here, even her quiet breathing at night was enough to anchor me. When the kids were small, chaos felt like life, but it also meant I mattered. Someone needed me. Someone counted on me. Now there was no one. And yet I got up every morning, made my bed, brewed my coffee, walked the same hallways I had walked for decades. It was a routine I clung to, though it meant little. There are small things that hit harder than big moments. The other day, I walked past the door of my old study, the room where we built memories, the kids' crafts taped to the walls, the piles of school papers, the birthdays we celebrated there. Now it held only dust motes in the afternoon light. I realized how much life was built in ordinary spaces and how quietly it disappears when there's no one left to inhabit them. Sometimes I think about the dog we had years ago, not because I miss him particularly, though I do, but because he understood a truth I'm only now learning. He greeted me every day, tail wagging, not out of obligation, but because it mattered to him that I existed. That was a kind of connection humans sometimes forget. And in my quiet house, I sometimes talk to the memories of him, the sound of paws on hardwood floors, the warmth pressed against my legs. That small, unnoticed life taught me more about presence than years of human noise ever did. I walk slowly now, more carefully. My body creaks with the passage of time, and yet I persist. I read, I write little notes to myself, and I check the mailbox, half expecting news that rarely comes. Each letter, each card, each phone call feels like an echo of a life I once shared with people who loved me. It's a faint echo, but it reminds me that even in silence, I exist. Even in being alone, I am still here. The hardest part, though, is realizing that time moves differently when you're alone. Days stretch, and yet they vanish all the same. The calendar marks hours, but not the moments I want to remember. I find myself staring at the clock, thinking of the things I didn't say, the questions I never asked, the laughter I didn't share, the ordinary conversations, "How was your day?" or "Did you see that funny thing?" They vanish, leaving only regret in their place. And then there are strangers who show up occasionally. The mail carrier, a neighbor with a wave, someone delivering groceries. Their presence is fleeting, but it's enough to remind me that I am not entirely invisible. I smile at them, and sometimes they smile back. That exchange, small as it is, reminds me that connection doesn't need blood to be real. Community, I learned, can be chosen, nurtured, and cherished in ways I never thought possible. At night, I sit in my chair by the lamp, shadows stretching across the walls. I imagine the voices of people I love, and though they are gone, I feel their presence in my chest. Loneliness is a companion, yes, but it is also a mirror, reflecting who I was, who I am, and who I might still become. It's not a punishment. It's the truth of a life lived long enough to see those you love move on and to face the quiet that follows. If I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be this: pay attention to the small moments. Don't rush past them thinking there will always be another day, because sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the laughter, the hugs, the simple nods of recognition, they end quietly, without fanfare. And when they do, you are left with what you have made of your life and how deeply you felt it. Even now, with empty rooms and long afternoons, I find pockets of meaning. I water the plants, I tend to the little garden, I check in on a neighbor with groceries they cannot carry. These are small, almost invisible acts, yet they tether me to life. And that, I think, is what matters most. Presence, connection, a life felt, not just endured. I do not say this to make anyone feel guilty. I do not say this to cast judgment. I say it because it is real. Because growing old alone is a quiet truth that too few speak aloud. And if my words reach even one person who is sitting in silence, who feels unseen, who worries their life no longer matters, then perhaps my story is not only mine, but a bridge to theirs. The sun sets slowly in the west, painting the walls in gold. I sit, sip my coffee, and breathe. I am alone, yes, but I am still here, and that is enough. Because even in quiet, even in solitude, there is life, there is dignity, there is strength, and there is hope.